This is Oliver Thomas, and this is my story.
What's your story?
Gotcha. So for the people who don't know, I'm like, tell them where you're from.
I grew up, born and raised and reared, don't want to leave that out, in the Lower Ninth Ward to Oliver Thomas Sr. and Mionette Egana Thomas. Had four brothers and sisters, my sister Rosalind, late sister Rosalind, my late sister Juliet, my late brother Ronaldo, and my sister still with us, T. Nettie, Mionette Roby now. So that was my immediate family. Come from a big family though.
Gotcha. So growing up for you, how was it for you?
We didn't know we were poor, right? There were challenges that my parents and our neighborhood. The one thing about the Lower Ninth Ward and back then in New Orleans communities, really in all our wards, it was a collective of families and people who had relationships with each other. So whether it was the most disparaged, the poorest neighborhood, or marginalized ones, the protection was in the people who lived there. It's something really I want to get back to, make New Orleans a ward precinct, a city of families that look out for each other. But it was good. We had a large immediate, outside of my immediate family. My mother just had 5 kids. They used to tease her. Her sister had 11. Her brother had 11 or 12, I think. My dad's brother had 11. My dad's other brother had 7. My mother's first cousin had 16 kids, and my mother was one of 9. So there was a whole lot of people to love and play with and challenge and be together with.
Gotcha. So and people gonna ask this, I'm like, what high school did you attend and all that stuff? Because but that's a big thing in New Orleans.
And it's kind of upsets me too, man, because none of the schools I went to exist anymore. And there's going to be a movement to bring that back, right? I'm lawless and Clark.
Okay.
And we should have a lawless in Clark. Nothing against some of these other schools, but in New Orleans, that's what we want to know, man. What wards you came from, what neighborhood, what high school you went to. I went to Lawless and Clark, and I'm proud of both of them. Proud of being a Pythian. And like Fred Luder would say, I'm proud of being a Clark Bulldog. No doubt about it.
So growing up as a teenager in New Orleans, I'm like, what is your greatest memory?
Probably being an athlete, right? Sports was our salvation. It kept us occupied when there was a lot of things going on in the neighborhood. The one thing I can say about my dad, he may not have had a lot of treasures, but he had a lot of time. And he made sure we were in the playground, playing ball, practicing, doing something constructive. And the thing I always remember most, I was just uptown for the Hope Fest with Var and Harold Austin and a lot of folk uptown. Man, we would go all the way uptown to the Calliope, to Rosenwald. And because we were athletes, we looked out for each other. I spent a lot of time at the Desire Community Center, at Bunny Front Playground and Stallings. And it was just a collective of trying to find something positive, being in the park, being in the gym, and being with my friends. Those are fond memories. And most of us grew up to be high school and college athletes, and many even went to the pros.
Gotcha. So, getting out of high school, did you go to college?
Yeah, I started at Wisconsin playing basketball. I finished at the College of Santa Fe. Played basketball in college, had a little stop at Ranger Junior College, and I actually played also with the Boston Titans in Outdoor Pro League 2 summer seasons that when I was on the East Coast working. So I had a chance, yeah, man. If I could have been a little better, maybe I could have made some of that NBA money.
Right.
But it was a good experience. It got me a chance to travel. I'm still engaged with a lot of my teammates. We had about maybe 6 years ago, we went to visit my coach, Coach Lenny Roybaugh from the College of Santa Fe, who's actually being nominated to the New Mexico Hall of Fame. So we're actually trying to figure out that if he makes the Hall of Fame this year, how can we go there to support him? So fond memories and real good, strong, lasting relationships from sports, from basketball.
Gotcha. So tell the people I'm like, what did you graduate college from?
Yeah, I graduated with the a degree in business. from the College of Santa Fe. I also finished the Aspen Institute on public policy with a lot of prestigious folk from around the country. And I completed Harvard's executive program for state and local leaders and made a lot of strong relationships there. I did the Institute of Politics at Loyola and a lot of continuing education. My education resume kind of stacked.
So, and but after, after the basketball dreams, fade away after a certain time, like I'm
Hoop
not going to
dream.
the NBA. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, like, basketball over, if you come back to New Orleans, I'm like, what did you actually, start doing?
Actually, man, my parents were real serious about how you spent your time and who you spent your time with. I grew up in a neighborhood that would test you. Even though I tried to stay away from a lot of that stuff, a lot of my friends weren't. A lot of ones that I have fond memories of spent their time in and out of incarceration, and many of them are deceased now. So it was important to my parents that I do something productive. That's actually how I got involved in politics, man, because my mom was like, look, I know you love your friends, but many of them have chosen a path. We want to keep you on your path. So I started volunteering in the elections. And a guy named Ken Carter and M.R. Venable, who were friends with my dad, introduced me to Jim Singleton. And I started volunteering, and then he offered me a job. That was my entree into politics.
That was your breakthrough, you like about job.
Yeah, it was interesting because I had no intention of staying in New Orleans or really taking the job. I always thought that, if we're going to keep it 100, I always thought for a young black man that New Orleans was very tough, and I had seen so much more opportunity traveling and being other places. And New Orleans was always so hard on young black men, whether it was the streets or even gaining opportunity, that when I got a chance to travel and see other people who look like me, who had been what I've been through, were doing better, it was really difficult for me to make decisions to stay here. But I did. The late Roy Glapion was my coach in high school. He was one of my references on my resume. Jim Singleton called him and he said, hey, I got this kid Oliver Thomas that guy's open in my office. What do you think? And Coach Glapion, the late Roy Glapion, who was also on the council, said, if you can get him to stay here, he said, he's a good kid. If I were you, I would hire him. So Jim Singleton looked at me and said, Roy's one of my best friends. He said, I promised this job to somebody else, but if he says hire you, I'm gonna hire you. I just got to find another job for the person I promised it to. A true story. And so he said, I want you to go fill out some paperwork. I said, for what? He said, well, I want you to start work. I said, but I don't know if I'm gonna stay here. He said, well, while you're here, I want you to work for me. And that was in, I think, December of 1986, and I've been here ever since.
Gotcha. So, even, I'm like feeling, if the way like that you felt about, being a young black man in New Orleans, current today, do you feel like it's still hard?
Oh, absolutely. It's part of my motivation, even as a grown man now. I actually grew some notoriety through mentoring with Elder Gaddis at Wilson. We founded the Boys and Men Mentoring Program with people like Dr. Eric Johnson and Tommy Vassell and many other notable men. And I won the Philadelphia Service Award for mentoring. It's a national award, and all those people, because the kid that I mentored was a 0.40 GPA. When I finished, he graduated number 7 in his class. His name was Meredith Martin. And we're still friends to this very day. So I committed myself to mentoring and advocating for young men in neighborhoods like I grew up in. So for me, that was the blessing, right? To be able to, first of all, I don't think we have any throwaway people. And I know everyone doesn't think like that, but for me, everyone's redeemable. You just have to be willing to try to find that spot in them that makes them see what we see in them. And that's what I committed to.
Gotcha. So, politics.
Mm-hmm.
So, for the people who, are kind of familiar with your,
Right.
your story, like, can you kind of explain, about, about your journey I'm like in politics.
Well, that's interesting, right? So because of my work in the community and work with young folk, the people in the community actually rallied to encourage me and encourage my political professional associates that I should be the one to run for office when Jim Singleton was moving up to run at large. So it was people like Augusta Carey, Von Marrero, Bad Didi, Barbara Jackson, Fannie McKnight, Bertrand Butler. It was a list of people from the community who said, we want him to run. Now, a lot of folks didn't think I could win. I'll never forget the first time they did a poll, I was 2%. And so even a lot of the political people who supported me was like, man, you're only 2%. I was running against an elected official and a government executive. And my attitude was, and I said this, right? I said, well, if I'm 2% and y'all say nobody doesn't know me, wait till the other 98% meet me. And that was my attitude. It's been my attitude as a competitor. And of course, I won. So, but it wasn't an easy journey.
That's a story on its own.
Yeah, it was another story on its own. And the political people counted me out. But they count out a lot of us. That's why you don't count people out. We don't have no throwaway people.
If you was the underdog, and if you still came on, if it came on top.
I don't mind being the underdog. Where we come from, we know we're always disparaged, disadvantaged, and many people think disconnected. But you can use that to your advantage. It was a real powerful opportunity with me, my dad, and my younger brother, late Ronaldo Thomas. I was playing ball at the Desire Community Center. We were driving back of Florida Avenue in Tennessee to go to the back bridge, if you know the Lower 9, because it was the quickest way to get over to the project, to the community center. And as we were driving through, my dad was asking us questions about the neighborhood. Of course, I was back home. My brother was an athlete. They were taking me to play with this summer team I was playing with. And so he started talking about the neighborhood. He said, the neighborhood's changed. And he's talking to his sons. And he said, yeah, it's changed. He said, what's the difference? He said, we're not drugs. It seems like people have a tougher time now. And so my dad said, what do you see? So my brother said, that's what I see. So he said, my older son, what do you see? I said, I see the same thing Naughty see. We call my brother Naughty. He said, well, so he pulled over to the side of Florida Avenue. And he said, if that's all you see, it's going to be tough to make a difference. He says, what you should see is opportunity. He said, always remember, if a lot of people seem to be doing real bad, that usually means a few people are doing real well. How can you flip that opportunity? If you see disparity in where you come from, if you see negative in where you come from, how do you stop other people from seeing it? And that's been my attitude.
Gotcha. So, just speaking on that, I just want to see everyone win, but I have to ask you this question and before we go to the other things, like, but just a few months ago, but you told the world, but you actually, I'm like running for mayor.
Yeah.
So I want you to ask this question just off the jump, like, but what makes you, well, but why should people actually, I'm like, vote for you? But that's the, I'm like the next mayor of the city of New Orleans.
I think, first of all, I'm prepared.
Okay.
Absolutely. Authentic and real when it comes to our culture, the foundation of our existence here. It's why we lead the world in many cases of per capita visitors. It's the charm and originality of New Orleans. The other thing is I'm prepared. I think much of what I went through in my life has prepared me not only to help fix and lead my life, but to help see others that they have redeemable qualities, right? That in the city that needs to be redeemed. Who's lived a more life of redemption other than me? I think that's a powerful combination. Now, some people may not see it that way, but what I do know is we all fall down, right? How do we get up? And I've gotten up. I want to work with people to make sure my city gets up and that we stay up. So no, man, I'm perfectly qualified to be able to do this because I'm a product of everybody. everybody's prayers, everybody's inspiration. So for me as mayor, I don't want those prayers and inspiration just to be about me. I want it to be about our city.
Gotcha. So we are doing it, but we are doing with the interview. Actually about your story. So for the people who do know about about your redemption and your fall,
Right.
can you kind of like briefly explain about what happened and the reason why about you went to prison, and also you coming home and actually coming home with a plan and changing the whole narrative about
Yeah.
yourself.
Yeah, I went to prison for 3 years, and the 3 years that I was there, I did a couple of things. I worked on my spirit, I worked on my mind, I worked on myself physically and emotionally. And I also worked with young men inside the system. We would teach classes, I tell them about civic engagement, right? Why they need to make sure when they get out, they vote, why they ought to give a damn about their families and their communities. And then something happened, I think, like a year before, maybe inside a year before I was supposed to be released. Anthony Bean with the Anthony Bean Theater, right, one of our great playwrights, writers, and producers and actors, wrote a letter to me and asked me if I would be willing to do a play or a public production about my story. So I was like, no. Then I was like, I was just thinking about what I was going to do with my life. But I held on to that letter, and he wrote me again. He kept saying, hey, man, let's use your life to help others. You don't just go through something so it'll impact you, right? Let's use it to show others what they can go through and how they can come out of it. Well, when I came home, I had a meeting with him, and he said, what do you say? And I said, well, let me think about it, right? So he asked me to answer 6 questions before I made up my mind. It was on politics, family, love, faith, and a couple of other topics, right? And he asked me to write a paragraph on each, and when I wrote it, we met on what I wrote, and he said, well, it looks like you got to do this. I said, well, why? He said, because all your answers are bigger than you. It's about other people who fall down and how we can help use your story. So I agreed to do it. We did reflections, got New York Times front page entertainment section coverage, sold out 13 straight nights. I think sold out more nights than any other consecutive nights in any other production in the city that I know of. And that catapulted me to at least begin to use my life, not just as a story where something bad happened, but to help people know that when something bad happens, that's your beginning to success.
Right. And I ain't gonna lie to you, I'm gonna speak on, personally, I would say I would vote for someone in your manner, because I would you actually been in prison and you heard those people's story, and you also know how important it is when these people come home, about how they really don't have the opportunity to change the narrative about them as well. So you are like a walking testimony to a lot of people as well. They've been thinking, well, as soon as I come home from jail, I can't do this, I can't do that. You came home and you actually became one of that councilman, and now you're running for mayor. Some people don't even think they can get a job.
Well, I made history a couple of weeks ago.
Okay.
I worked with Vote, Rama Marshall, Dominique Lang Jackson in my office to create and author the first ordinance to make formerly incarcerated people a protective class. Not if you've done something so atrocious, but for people who paid their debt to society and done their time, when they come back home, now, when people vote to pass this charter change in October, they can't discriminate against you for housing or employment. I firmly believe that my life has to be used to encourage others and to provide opportunity for others, because people's prayers and consideration did it for me, but it can't just be about me.
Right. Yeah, it just been that. But I just always seen all my life, it was the same, same thing. As soon as a person come home from prison, and once they have it on their record, they can't really, do certain things.
Well, I experienced that. I won't use his last name. A young man by the name of Joe. Once I went through what I went through, of course, I had a deeper understanding of what it meant, especially for people who had rehabilitated themselves and gained credentials in prison, who were looking for positive outcomes. Joe filled out 25 applications. He did 14 years in Angola, and mostly for dishwasher, restaurants, working in the kitchen. 25 times, because he had spent 14 years in Angola, he was denied. He was one of the.
Yeah, that's great.
He was a good dude.
Yeah, I just think and also being one, I'm like black male, you also get, if you're to get judged early before you even like fill out an application. So even having that, if that I'm like convicted felon on, your paper, and it's a reason why so many people come home and actually fill out no, like
Well,
on an application.
as a black male, you're judged before you're born. I mean, the stereotypes are real. I mean, look how they advertise this, right? Look at the CNBC report on the nation's economy. February 2024 said that black men and boys are being left out of the nation's economy. And that doesn't mean anyone else should be left out, but we shouldn't do. It's a different kind of existence, right? When you've been stereotyped and when you've been branded and when there's a certain image, especially after you've made a mistake. So think about this. Too many young black men and even young black women can do everything right and still be at a disadvantage. So especially when you're a black male, if you've made a mistake and if society has labeled you, then you not have to overcome that. You have to overcome these societal stereotypes. And it's unfair, but it's also what's made us exceptional for those who've accepted it, still achieved, and still got up. And I think that's something to applaud.
Gotcha. So, I'm gonna ask this question to you, like, hey, but if you could do it all over again, I'm like, would you change anything about yourself or change the way that you've done anything?
I mean, it's always easy to say you wouldn't, but in many cases, no, because that's my life.
Like, I always tell people that.
So there's no way I could be who I am without the family I was born into, the neighborhood I was born into, the people that I associated with, the challenges that I went through, the failures and the successes. There wouldn't be me. So for me to say I would do things different, so who would that be? And I'm pretty proud of me right now.
And like most people don't know, but you have to fail to actually sometimes learn, because because a lot of people haven't actually been through nothing, so they don't really understand a lot of people's situations as well.
I would say yes and no. I would say there are a lot of people who don't have the luxury of their lowest points in their life or the things that embarrass them most being public. And many of them, they shine their halo because they don't have to reveal to the world their lowest point. And I actually believe that the best people God put on this earth are the ones who can show how they overcame the thing that they put in their way, or that society or that fate put in their way. And it's not I wouldn't want folk to go through my tough time or the tough time like most of the people I know who've overcome, but we wouldn't be who we are if we hadn't.
Gotcha. So, next question: how do you plan on winning this next upcoming election?
Getting our message out. We're proud of our team. The momentum has been unbelievable. And there's an underground current in a group of people in this town who really want to see New Orleans win, like we want to see New Orleans win. I think our message is a city that works for all of us is resonating. I think it's been unbelievable, right? How people have been calling us for help. And I think that with our message about making City Hall work, there's some things in our platform that we worked on that were really, it was a collection of what we heard from people. People today think government is way over here, politicians are way over there, and they're stuck right here waiting for City Hall and state government and federal government to deliver, right? If we pay for 2 day a week trash pickup, but we only get one. Sometimes we don't get that one. So if you don't get that one, you shouldn't have to wait the next week till your regular pickup. I think my platform says a minimum of 48 hours where somebody comes and gets it right. You may call 911, and that's about life and death. That shouldn't be a 1, 2, or 3 minute phone call. That should be 10 seconds, right? With an outcome and somebody on whatever it is, because it could mean life or death. If you dig in the street one day, you shouldn't have to wait a whole year and a half or 2 years for somebody to come and repair it. It should be a 90-day turnaround. If you call Sewage and Water Board about a bill that's 10 times higher than you ever got in your life, you shouldn't have to wait to fight to dispute that bill. Somebody there should be calling you saying, hey, we noticed your bill on average has been $90 a month, $100 a month for 20 years. We want to talk to you about why it's $3,000. Those kind of things, to me, are common sense, right? If you sign up for a permit, why can't we give you a provisional permit, especially if you've been in business before and you're in good standing and you do everything right while we're waiting on your occupational license or your permit so you can open? Or why does it have to take a year when we know you're in good standing as a businessman or businesswoman? That doesn't make sense to me.
Gotcha. Yeah, you're right about a lot of about all that, and I think and I've had people came on my platform and actually talk about those different things about the occupational uh, license from City Hall and everything, and just how it's evidence like one runaround process. So I think if someone else,
look, one-stop shopping shouldn't be stopped.
Right.
One-stop shopping should be one stop. Too often night means stop.
Right. Yeah, but I hope but you get where you need to go for you can change that because there's so many entrepreneurs are actually coming out every day in New Orleans.
We got to change it, right? Because first of all, business startup is the game now, especially for a lot of young folk. They may have a short work history, but a lot of them are looking to be entrepreneurs, right? So if we don't catch up, if we're not in the game they're in, where things happen quickly because of social media, because brand, product, marketing, then no, we can't be behind at times. We got to be where they are, and that means you got an idea, right? You need a license. Let's get it to you as quick as possible.
So, how did you pick yourself back up?
It was with how did Oliver Thomas pick itself back up? I didn't have boots. I didn't have bootstraps, right? And I think this thing about people picking themselves back up, yeah, but you got to acknowledge it's help and encouragement from other people. When I got back, I used to stand by the bus stop to go to a job, and people would offer me a ride. And at first, I didn't want to, right? Because I wanted to go through this journey, being uncertain about life. I wanted to be on the bus. It was funny though because I'd be on the bus and people would say, I'd be saying, yeah, that's me catching the bus with you. I wanted to experience that. But then people would stop by and offer me a ride. And Wilbur Chill, if everybody knows the famous Chill barbershop uptown, who was famous after Katrina for cutting hair free on Napoleon and Claiborne. Chill, man, convinced me that, hey man, let me give you a ride to work. I want to talk to you. And he told me about how he went from the streets to being a successful businessman. And those encouraging conversations were absolutely a foundation for what you see right now. And so a lot of times, sometimes when we're successful, we think it's a lot of just within us. But for me, it was a combination of people on the bus, driving by, offering me rides, and then those conversations with Chill saying, hey man, life isn't over, man. You're on another part of your journey. That played a profound impact on where I was and where I am and where I'm going.
I'm like, how did you actually get back into politics?
That is a good question because there were people, I always tell people there are people who look at us and have plans for our lives, sometimes in spite of ourselves and because of ourselves. The minute I came back, my only interest was in my family and finding myself contributing and playing a role in helping my city. I had no plans on running for office, but everywhere I went, people would say, "Hey, man, you need to get back in politics." And I'd be like, "Why, man? I'm just trying to find my way now." But it was the encouragement of people everywhere I went. And though I thought, you know, I was trying to find myself, people had already figured out what they thought my destiny was. So it was people everywhere, whether it was at a restaurant, man, walking through the community, being at City Park with Hakim working out, or just hanging out with my family. Every step of the way, people encouraged me to think about public service again. And of course, then we made it a reality.
I mean, that sounds good. Gotcha. So what's next for you? It'll be the next few months before everything just go boom. Is he gonna win?
Yeah. When we win, everybody who wasn't with me has a seat at the table to talk about how we make New Orleans better. When we win, everybody who's been locked out and left out, we got a key to open the door now. When we win, influences, right? There won't just be influencers, they'll have influence. Young folk who people call on to use, but don't give them a seat at the table. Young folk are not just going to have a seat at the table, they're going to help build the table. Our senior citizens are going to be a protective class. If we can't take care of our mothers and fathers and grandmothers and aunties and grandfathers and uncles, especially after they've paid their dues, something is wrong with us as a society. Ancient Ghanaian proverbs and ancient Chinese culture say, we judge a society how it takes care of its elders. Oliver Thomas wants to take care of our babies, our elders, and all.
What shaped your worldview and how you would lead the city?
I mean, that's easy. Hurricane Katrina. Though I had always been a student of the world, one of the things my mom did early on was give us books to read. That was assignments, especially about the world. We never went on vacation as kids. We couldn't afford it. But she always thought we should travel through our minds. But once Hurricane Katrina hit, man, I went to China with Harry Lee and other officials. Went to Amsterdam and Holland with Governor Blanco. I went to Japan with members of the UN. And I saw that the world was not that far away. And then the flip side of it was I met so many people from all over the world who came here to help us. It wasn't just people from the United States and the region, and we honor them. But there were students and business people and men and women from the four corners of this earth, right, who came to help New Orleans get up, dry out, and be the cultural mecca that we've always been. Now, Katrina saw me to look at the world is how I want to see us, and that is together. We're more together than we're apart, no matter where you live on this planet. And that was, I don't want to say that was eye-opening for me, but it opened my brain and my heart to know that we're more together than we are separate or different.
Gotcha. And also, last but not least, tell the world, what can they find you at on social media and everywhere else?
OT for us, right?
Yeah.
On Instagram, TikTok, Threads, Facebook, and so many others, but mostly they can find me out in the community, man. I'm gonna try to be every place I can be, man. And shout out to Black Agenda and Black Excellence at Xavier University, man. I got my honorary doctorate with the group of ex-offenders and people who would help change culture from music to business last night, man. And I was surprised and real proud of that. But what it shows is that everybody matters. And everybody wants a city that works for all of us, not just the deep pockets, not just the privileged few, but for all of us. And the only way we can fix New Orleans is like this, not like that. I want us to be like this.
Oh, but all right, we done for right now, and like as soon as you win, but hopefully you can come back and we can talk about it.
Well, man, when I win, hopefully you'll have me back.
Yeah,
Because
I'm gonna pull up on you next time.
the one thing I want to do is communicate with people so that they know they're hearing from their mayor, they're seeing their mayor, and most importantly, they're feeling their mayor.
If you ain't on Nolazine,